Or do we? Do we even know anything? I mean, who to believe? How is all this going to affect our 2023 content and marketing planning for next year? Well, this is what's new that you need to know to lead in content marketing. Hello everybody, Robert Rose here with what's new and what you need to know, but it's what's important in the world of content marketing strategy. And for the best and best practices, you can head on over to contentmarketinginstitute.com. As we get all of us over the Thanksgiving, let's just call it a hangover, shall we? I mean, those libations were flowing. We can look to see how the last week fared for retailers and the economy more broadly. The unofficial marketing and sales temperature check known as Black Friday, it's become really Black Friday, Cyber Week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, a whole Jubilee week of retailing, discounting, and shopping. Most companies use this as a gauge to see where things are headed in the coming year. So what's the news? Well, the news is decidedly, who knows? I mean, depending on what publications you read, shopper hit turnouts of record highs. Some news outlets reporting that 196 million shoppers turned out over the weekend compared to 179 million last year. That eclipsed, by the way, the forecast from the National Federation of Retailers, which estimated a turnout of 166 million this year. But if you read other reports, these other reports are saying that Black Friday, the weekend, and the week following, it's been, quote, mixed at best, citing the winners and losers in the retail market space and saying that there's been a surprising lower level of discounting than in previous years, despite higher inflation. Others, they're saying the opposite. They're saying there's modest growth, but they're saying that higher traffic and deeper promotions have enabled retailers to, quote, eke out a modest growth scenario. So which is it? What is it? Who to believe? Well, it's all those things. As I've said many times before, data will tell just about any kind of story you'd like to. You show me your Google Analytics, and I'll sit around the campfire and tell you any kind of tale you'd like. The reporting on the economy and whether or not this Black Friday and Cyber Week is a portend of, bad or good things, it all depends on the audience that you'd like to find yourself in. And that tees up my column this week on Content Marketing Institute and our take here at CMI for a lesson we can all learn about popularity of content and audiences. You see, these stories bring back a lesson I learned back in the world of media and storytelling and audiences, and the lesson is this: popularity is not a sign of differentiation. That lesson comes from the idea that often what is popular among audiences and the media isn't actually regarded by audiences to be necessarily high quality or in some cases even true. In other words, content, it's often better to go against the flow and find new audiences that you want to attract rather than feed into the popular thinking. And that can be sometimes hard for us marketers to sort of swallow. Now, that is a double-edged sword to this thinking. If you successfully chase trends and feed popular content to audiences, it doesn't automatically mean that it equates to differentiation. But on the other hand, focusing on differentiating by taking a contrarian or highly niche view to what's popular, that doesn't always work either. So how do you start to blend these concepts? Well, in my column this week, I talk about a classic concept made popular in a 2004 book called Blue Ocean Strategy. Now, you see, red oceans are crowded markets where popular products abound and cutthroat sales and marketing and discount strategies rule. Blue oceans, on the other hand, are undiscovered markets where there's little or no competitions and businesses can actually create new customers or, honestly, die alone. Now, in content marketing strategy, we find a lot of businesses, most businesses, in fact, are focusing on the short-term, hyper-focused feeding of red audiences. They look to drive traffic, engagement, and conversions by getting the most people to consume the most popular content, and they chase that popularity and focus on the topics and content that are most popular with the audiences of the day. But going after blue audiences, in other words, new audiences that don't even know what they don't know yet, and they're not relevant in the present strategy, that seems risky. It seems weird. So what do we do here? Well, one of the things that we're seeing smart content marketers do is similar to what we see media companies do, working on transitioning one to the other, teaching, targeting, building demand for new ideas from a niche within the red audience. Put simply, they created a purple audience. Audiences that are interested in a popular topic, but finding a niche within there, something that goes against the flow to start to differentiate the way you pull that audience out of it and make them yours. In this week's column, I go through a couple of examples that might help you figure out how that might work for your business. As we're thinking about all of our planning for next year, one thing to take from this lesson is how these media companies are finding ways to target us specifically and pull us into the narrative that they want us to follow. Remember, just because there's data doesn't mean the story has to be the same. Go check out my column and let me know what you think. And that's 5 minutes of, well, what's new that you need to know and that hopefully you can use to lead in content marketing. I'm Robert Roast. Remember, it's your story. You tell it well. I'll see you next week.